Candyland is a simple racing board game. The game requires no reading and minimal counting skills, making it suitable for young children. Due to the design of the game, there is no strategy involved. Euro players are never required to make choices, just follow directions. The winner is predetermined by the shuffle of the cards. Gameplay: the race is woven around a storyline about finding King Candy, the lost king of Candyland. The board consists of a winding, linear track made of 134 spaces, most red, green, blue, yellow, orange or purple. The remaining pink spaces are named locations such as Candy Cane Forest and Gumdrop Mountain, or characters such as Queen Faustine and Grandma Nut. Players take turns removing the top card from a stack, most of which show one of 6 colors, and then moving their marker ahead to the next space of that color. Some cards have 2 marks of a color, in which case the player moves the marker ahead to the second next space of that color. The deck has 1 card for each named location, and drawing such a card moves a player directly to that board location. This move can be either forward or backward in the classic game. Backward moves can be ignored for younger players in the 2004 version of the game. Before the 2006 version, there were 3 colored spaces marked with a dot. 2 of these spaces were designated as cherry pitfalls, and the other was situated in Molasses Swamp. A player who lands on such a space is stuck until a card is drawn of the same color as the square. In the 2006 version, dot spaces were replaced with licorice spaces that prompt the player landing on it to simply lose the next turn. The game is won by landing on or passing the final square and thus reaching the goal of the Candy Castle. The official rules specify that any card that would cause the player to advance past the last square wins the game, but many play so that one must land exactly on the last square to win. The 2004 version changed the last space from a violet square to a rainbow space, meaning it applies to any color drawn by a player, thus resolving any dispute about exactly who wins the game. As of 2013, Candyland is being sold by Hasbro with a spinner instead of cards. The spinner includes all outcomes that were previously on the cards. History: the game was designed in 1949 by Eleanor Abbott, while she was recovering from polio in San Diego, California. The game was bought by Milton Bradley Company and first published in 1949. Hasbro produces several versions of the game and treats it as a brand. For example, they market Candyland Puzzles, a travel version, a personal computer game, and a handheld electronic version. Candyland was involved in one of the first disputes over Internet domain names. An adult web content provider registered Candyland.com, and Hasbro objected. Hasbro obtained an injunction against the use, and eventually gained ownership of the site. Reception: a December 2005 article in Forbes magazine analyzed the most popular American toys by decade, with help from the Toy Industry Association. Candyland led the list for the 1940–1949 decade. In 2005, the game was inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame at the Strong in Rochester, New York. Versions: at least 4 versions of the Candyland board game were made. The first dates from 1949. This version, and other early versions, had only locations and no characters. A board copyrighted in 1962 shows a track layout different from the more recent versions. One further revision was made before characters were introduced. The next version of the game, from the 1980s and 1990s, introduced the characters such as Mr. Mint and Grandma Nut, has the modern track layout, and ends with a purple square. Some of the characters and place names were changed in 2002. Queen Faustine became Princess Faustine, the classic Molasses Swamp was changed to Chocolate Swamp, Princess Lolly was changed to Lolly, and the character Plumpy was removed entirely. A VCR board game version of the game was made in 1986. Hasbro released an electronic version of the game for Windows in 1998. An animated 2005 feature, Candyland, The Great Lollipop Adventure, was produced and later spawned a DVD game version of Candyland. The Give Kids the World, Village edition of Candyland was produced by Hasbro especially for the Give Kids the World Village, a non-profit resort in Kissimmee, Florida for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. In this version, traditional Candyland characters and locations were replaced with the venues and characters of the village, such as Mayor Clayton and Miss Mary. There are licensed versions of Candyland with characters such as Winnie the Pooh, Dora the Explorer and SpongeBob. Characters depend on the version of the game. The kids are in the classic version, they are two blonde twins. In 2002, there are 4 kids of varying races. Mr. Mint he lives in the candy cane forest, and is a candy cane woodcutter. He was removed from World of Sweets and then brought back for the 2013 version as an ice skater instead of a woodcutter. Duke of Swirl Mr. Mint's replacement in the 2010 edition. Grandma Nut Grandma Nut lives in a peanut brittle house on the corner of Candyland. King Candy the King of Candyland. He lives in a castle made of sweets. Jolly he was removed in the 2010 version and then after widespread outcry and demand was brought back for the 2013 edition. Plumpy a fuzzy green monster under the gingerbread plum tree. He was removed in the 2002 version and replaced by Mama Ginger Tree. Mama Ginger Tree makes the best ginger snaps in all of Candyland. She was removed from the game. Cupcake Commons Mama Ginger Tree's replacement in the 2010 version. Princess Lolly she was renamed Lolly after 2002 edition and later renamed Princess Lolly in 2010 edition. Queen Frostina she was renamed Princess Frostine after 2002 edition. Lord Licorice he is the villain of Candyland. Gloppy friendly monster made of chocolate. Locations, Candy Castle the location the players are attempting to reach. Gingerbread plum trees where Plumpy sits eating plums from his gingerbread trees. Gumdrop Mountains offers a gumdrop path, or a shortcut. Licorice Castle a black and red licorice castle with licorice bats. Lollipop Woods a forest of rainbow lollipops, which resemble trees. Molasses Swamp a swamp of molasses with brown popsicle plants. Peanut Brittle House a cottage made of peanut brittle with peanut plants growing outside. Peppermint Forest a snowy thicket of peppermint candy canes. Ice Cream Sea a bubbly ice cream sea where Queen Frostine resides. Legacy as motif the candy section of Toys R Us in New York City's Times Square maintained a Candyland theme until losing their license for the characters in 2006. The theme included a colored pathway that mimicked the board for the game, several Candyland characters, and candy-themed shelving and ceiling decorations. Some people believe that Candyland inspired Dylan Lauren to create the Dylan's Candy Bar Store, also located in New York City, but it was in fact the popular movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that inspired her to start a candy store, although characters from the Candyland game can be seen all around the store. At the downtown Disney Marketplace in Florida, there is a reference to the rules of Candyland on the ceiling of the toy store. The rules have been altered slightly with some humor and sarcasm added, such as rule number 6, which says play is above until someone reaches the multicolored space near the castle or someone loses their cool and overturns the gamma-board. Music video for Katy Perry's song California Girls features a World of Candy-themed board game named Candyfornia heavily influenced by Candyland. Film adaptation On February 5, 2009, Universal Pictures announced plans to film a movie based on the Candyland board game. Ethan Cohen, a writer for comedies Madagascar, Escape to Africa and Tropic Thunder, was hired to write the screenplay. Kevin Lima, who directed Enchanted, was set to direct. However, in 2011, a new screenwriting team was designated, composed of Jonathan Abel and Glenn Berger. They said, "We don't see it as a movie based on a board game, although it has characters from that world and takes the idea of people finding themselves in a world that happens to be made entirely of candy where there are huge battles going on. We are going for real comedy, real action, and real emotions at stake." On January 31, 2011, it was announced that Columbia Pictures, Happy Madison, and Adam Sandler were in final negotiations to develop the film, with Sandler both starring and co-writing the screenplay with Robert Smigel. and popular culture equals, in the Superhero Squad show episode Blind Rage Knows No Color. Thanos has a fear of a children's board game that parodies Candyland called Sugar World, which is invoked upon him by Nightmare. In his nightmare, Thanos is attacked by Iron Man, Wolverine, and Thor. Other puns related to the Sugar World parody include the dark chocolate geezer and the snickerdoodle dice. In Django Unchained, the plantation name Candyland was inspired by director Quentin Tarantino's fascination with the board game. In Wreck-It Ralph, the movie references Candyland with a video game world based entirely around candy called Sugar Rush, the ruler of which is called King Candy. References. External links. Official website. Includes the history and pictures of older versions, official rules of classic version. Information about Candyland from the Elliott Avedon Museum and Archive of Games, mathematical analysis of one Euro 4-player game. Feature a picture of the classic board, deeper mathematical analysis of one-player game, Monte Carlo analysis of Candyland, Cootie, and Chutes and Ladders. Results for Candyland differ slightly from others, mathematical analysis of Candyland.